So welcome to Satsang today. So it's amazing to be back here in Satsang. It feels like a while since we've been together like this, and it's lovely to be here today with you for this most sacred of opportunities, for this highest of opportunities, which is to realize who we really are. And just as importantly as realizing is coming to live as that. Because in my own journey, that was the harder part than actually seeing, was living as that. So Satsang is literally means, the word means to sit together in truth, to be near truth, to be here with the truth as the truth. And there is nothing more valuable for our time, to use our time than this. And the fact that you're here attending or making time to watch this later on YouTube is saying something about what's most important to you. And if it is the most important thing to you, then you will realize the truth. It doesn't mean we can't have other desires. Of course, we're going to have other desires. We might need or want a better job or a house or something like that. But if awakening has the highest place in our hearts, then we will always realize the truth, because it is the most important thing. And we're not changing into anything. We're only coming to see here what's always been true for us. So you can't fail at that. You can't fail to see your own reflection when you look in the mirror. We can keep our eyes closed for a while and imagine still we're a separate being. But the moment we really look, it becomes clearer who we are. So that's what Satsang is for. So I have a few questions sent in to be read out here. So I will dive into those. There'll be time after that for questions here live on the session or sharings. I'd love to catch up with you all, see what's going on for you. So I'll try and get through a few of these questions. So this first one says, "Hi Helen, I was at a luncheon the other day with friends and was so caught up in my own desires and belonging that I made a remark that hurt my dear friend. I acknowledged and apologized to her as soon as I realized what I'd done. We are both on spiritual paths and she forgave me, but I can't forgive myself. I'm discouraged that I'd hurt her. I thought I was further along. I feel like a fraud. I try to forgive myself, but I am struggling to let this go. Can you please give some guidance on this? Thank you." So you feel like a fraud because you actually still said whatever you'd said or did. You said that you made a remark. And forgiveness for me was a thing that I really didn't understand at first. And actually several experiences in life taught me about forgiveness, especially of my own self, that I was much less willing to forgive myself for something. Consider for a moment, if your friend had done this to you, we wouldn't even be having this. You wouldn't have written in, would you? It's only because this happened to your body-mind, that this was said by your mouth, and that there is some kind of personal responsibility as a separate being taken for this. I should not have done this. I should not have said this. Or of course, I should have said something when I didn't, and on it goes. So I'd really like you to look at why you can't forgive this here for you. If I was to say something to you that was accidentally hurtful, or if someone else or your friend that you were there with said something, you probably would forgive them without even a second thought. It would just be, okay, of course you didn't mean it, of course it's fine, it's done. And when I looked at this myself, it came down to the fact that I was still giving this body and mind some specialness. So I'm the only one that doesn't deserve forgiving. I'm the only one that doesn't deserve to be forgiven. I'm the only one who's not worthy of forgiveness. And of course, that seems very true when we're going through that. But if we want to recognize ourselves as that which is everywhere, can we still hold on to some specialness in one body and mind? Mustn't we treat them all equally? And forgiveness doesn't mean that you're condoning what happened. Forgiveness means you're accepting, okay, that happened, and I'm moving on. Of course, I desire something different next time. And forgiving yourself for it doesn't mean that you are condoning that or saying it's acceptable or okay. Of course, you would prefer different, but you cannot change what's already happened, what already manifested. And a lack of forgiveness of yourself is really saying that you are choosing your words, choosing your actions as a separate being, and that you should have chosen better. Can you see that? But if your words and your actions are coming spontaneously from your overall level of consciousness, from your overall level of seeing who you really are, then you cannot judge yourself by any thoughts and words and actions that appear. Of course, you might prefer certain ones over others. But if they are byproducts, our words, our actions, and our thoughts are byproducts of who we know ourselves to be, and we're in a process of seeing deeper and deeper until it's stunningly obvious, then can you blame yourself for something that happened while you're still in the process? Can you blame anyone for anything that happens while they're unconscious to who they really are? Again, it doesn't mean condoning. We don't have to like it, but we do have to accept it happened. And maybe it can just be a nudge to say, okay, would like to kind of see myself a little clearer. I'm going to use that to fuel my desire to go even deeper into my own awakening. So feeling like a fraud because you think you should be some other place than you are. But forgiveness is really the same as awakening. This is where I am right now. This is where my mind and body is at right now. It may still occasionally judge someone, judge myself because of judging someone else, etc. So in that I've just said, there was every reason I ever found not to forgive myself for something, and how I got out of it. So hopefully something in there is relevant. Usually it just comes down to where we're holding ourselves in separation. If you would forgive your best friend, you should forgive yourself because you are your best friend. And she or he is you. So you can't have it both ways. You can't hold yourself to different standards than everyone else and wake up to the truth. Because there is only one of us. There is no one else. So let's move on. Thank you so much for bringing your dear direct teachings, Helen. You provide a much needed path with signposts for us. I'm so grateful. Thank you. Question. I feel a deep love for a man who has severe attachment and intimacy problems. He gives mixed messages, does love me, but can never express it. I suffer all the time, feeling so sad for what cannot be, and yet find it so hard to move away as I keep holding on to the great potential that obviously is not going to be reached. He is also on the spiritual path and follows your teachings. I ask myself if I really need his love and intimacy, but need some help in holding to this question. Thank you for any strength, Helen. So I would suggest focusing on what you want more than how you're going to get it, because your mind says it has to come from this person in particular, and that if you let this person, you let the relationship end between you, that you've lost the opportunity to get what you want. But if both of you are stuck in a loop, a cyclic loop, a cause and effect, or a karmic pattern that you can't get what you want, then there is no way to resolve it until you go deeper into your own self. You can't fix a problem that arises from a certain level of consciousness, from that same level of consciousness. It's just not possible. So I would suggest just not doing anything right now, not deciding anything right now, at least. Of course, you sent this in a while ago. I'm not sure whether it's resolved, but I would focus on what you want. I would get a pen and paper. I know I'm old school there, but it's something really cathartic and powerful about writing it down rather than typing. Write down what you want, and don't try to define who you want it from or where you want it from. Yes, there may be someone in your life right now that you are involved with, but what do you want? You've pointed here to intimacy, love, and there might be other things in there. For me, when I really looked at what I wanted in a relationship, it was quite surprising. So I would suggest writing those down, really getting clear, as if you could have anything you want just by asking, because you can. We don't often believe that we can. And then getting really clear on that and letting the universe sort out who that is that's going to provide that. Recognizing, of course, that the fullest experience of an outer relationship with another being, we're going to have the fullest relationship with ourselves. We're going to have to get to know ourselves and fall in love with ourselves first, more than anything. This outer relationship is showing you that you still can't fully love yourself inside, because probably some self-judgment or thinking that you should be more advanced or whatever's going on in your own thought structure. So I'd really recommend looking at that too. Probably first, define what you actually want from a relationship and be clear about it in your own mind. Don't need to tell anyone, just to be clear. And then define your own relationship with yourself. How do you want to feel about your own self? And do you feel that way already? Because the outside world can only mirror the inside. They are the same. They are the same. The relationship with this person is the same as the relationship with you. So I know it's challenging, but the problem that we get stuck in here is, what do I do about this relationship? Do I leave or do I stay? And if you can see that that's coming from an idea of someone that can do something as a separate being, and work on the inner stuff first, then the right decision will spontaneously appear and it will feel the best for both of you. It won't be something where you win and they lose, or vice versa. So getting really clear on what you want and getting really clear on why you can't feel that way about you first. Love and intimacy and respect for your own self first. And then what happens in the outer relationship will just surprise and delight you and astound you. So I'll answer one more. Hi, and thank you for your reply. If I could sum it up into one question, it would be, is there any scientific proof that consciousness is the ultimate reality and not a product of the brain? Even though I've researched it so much and I know it's not a product of the brain, but this feeling of elation I now have living as awareness seems too good to be true, if that makes sense. I'm sure Helen has mentioned in one of her videos that she also wanted science to back things up as the truth of her true nature became evident. Thanks so much. Well, I came from a background of science anyway, chemistry, biochemistry, as my degree. And I was atheist, which is quite funny now, but at some point I wouldn't believe anything that science couldn't prove, until I realized about non-duality and awakening like this, that it's actually even closer than scientific proof. It's experiential proof in our own experience right now. Hands up, I have no idea whether science has proved that consciousness is before the brain rather than a product of the brain. Probably somebody has by now, somehow, I don't know. But would that help you anyway? Would it help you? And I'm not against science, I just said I have a deeply scientific background. But wouldn't it help you more to prove it to your own self right now, to be able to find out for yourself now in your experience, rather than reading it in a book or reading an article or something like that? For me, only the experiential proof for myself in my own body and mind actually began to shift something. Because you can find this out right now for yourself. Everyone can. And I did, to prove it to myself, so that I finally was able to, I wasn't drawn towards doubting thoughts anymore. And this is a big question. Everyone wants to know this. Is the consciousness that I am going to die when my body dies? Or is it before and beyond and after and during the existence of my brain, my human body? And for me, this came down to two things. Well, you can find out two different ways, or you can do them both if you really want to double prove it to yourself. Consciousness, or you've used the word awareness here. I mean the same thing. I mean the only thing that exists, the self, the noumenon, the infinite silence, stillness. I'm using all these words synonymously. Does it exist before the brain is here? If it's a product of our human brain, it will cease to be when the brain ceases to be. So we want to prove to ourselves that it's here before the body arrives, and then we can know with certainty it'll be here after the body's gone. And that even now, the consciousness that's using this body and mouth to speak is independent of the body and yet can use it. So consciousness then, if it was here before the body arrived, it must be continuous. If it starts when the body and brain start, it's not continuous, is it? So here's the first way to prove. So looking at consciousness then and asking, is it constant? Is it continuous? Is it coming and going? If it's coming and going, it's not reliable. It's not dependable. If it comes with the brain, it goes with the brain too. So the consciousness now that's conscious of these words that you're hearing, just putting some attention on the consciousness that's seeing what your eyes are seeing and hearing what your ears are hearing. Is it coming and going? What it's conscious of is changing and coming and going. Now it's conscious of these words. And then it was conscious of no words. Now it's conscious of words. It might become conscious of a sound outside or frustration in the body or any number of things. But the consciousness itself, is it constant? Even at nighttime, doesn't something know that your body laid down and went to sleep, and for 8 hours, hopefully, peacefully, there was no sense perception, no thought, and maybe during that 8 hours, an occasional dream going on. But for that 8 hours, something knows there was no time, there was no duality, there was no change, there was no waking state. So even in sleep, something knows. So I'd really urge you to look at this, because this is the only thing. I know I'm not answering your question, but I really can't answer. I don't know. Greater minds than this one have probably proved it already. The second way, for those that do want to prove it experientially, is if consciousness is a product of the brain, it will be an object arising out of something deeper, an object that has a beginning and an end, a size and a space and a duration. Consciousness would only be as big as my brain if it was a product of my brain. So again, looking at the consciousness or the awareness, whatever word you want to use, that's aware of these words, taking attention away from the words, putting it on that which is hearing the words. Is it a thing? Is it something that you can point to? Is it an object? Does it have a size and a shape? Can you say where it is and where it isn't? Can you be 100% certain it's only in your brain? It's here too, also. But does it stop where my head stops, where your head stops? When I really asked myself this question, I had to admit that I can't be 100% certain. It just feels like, seems like, and is assumed to be only in my head or in my body, because I'm conscious of how my toes feel right now, or my back resting against the chair, wherever there is nerves and senses. But can you really be sure of that? Is consciousness an object? And if it's not an object, if you can't find it as a thing, then it must be here before all things, even the body, even the brain. That which is not an object, there's only one. And it's here before all phenomena, during all phenomena, and remains constantly after. Even before, during, and after don't have any meaning to it from the perspective of consciousness. So those two things I would really look at proving, because only that is going to satisfy you. You don't even have to prove them. You just have to be willing to investigate them consistently for a few days, and a knowingness will come in so quickly. Most of us are stopped only by the assumption that we can't find this out ourselves. But the great sages have found this out. They've proved it to themselves even before science even existed in the way that it does today, with all the technology. You can find it out today if you really go with these two questions. So, okay, I'll stop there for a moment if anyone would like to ask some questions. Ashani, when you're ready. Hi.
Okay. Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
I can, yeah.
It's about the desire to move, and I've tried for maybe 1 or 2 years to move, and I put effort into it, like a person doing, and it doesn't happen.
Are you
And
talking about moving
I feel that
house?
some friends are saying,
Are you talking about moving home?
yeah,
Okay, yeah.
moving from this place to another place, closer to my children.
Okay.
And some people, friends, are saying that maybe God don't want you to move, or you're not ready to move. But I feel it's more true that I sabotaging myself, because I've been aware of my beliefs. I've been really into this, what I'm believing. And yesterday it was coming up very clearly, as I was a child, that I could not get what I need.
Yeah.
Because it was not possible for me as a child to get what I need, because I grew up in a dysfunctional family. So I think I still have this belief in me. And when I ask myself, is it true that I can get what I need? And there was a lot of crying, and so I don't know if it's a question or just because I feel also impatient as a person, and maybe it's a lack of trust that it will happen, or I think it's a condition to do. If I want to do something, I have to do it.
Yeah.
So I think that is something also strong in me. Yeah.
It's strong in us all, isn't it? That I've got to make it happen. Me, I've got to do it. And then we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. And,
Yeah.
of course, your body will have to do certain things in that
Yeah.
process, but without the stress of being a someone doing it. So tell me about the beliefs. You said
Yeah.
you're aware of some beliefs. Is it, what emotions come up with that? This idea that you can't get what you need or want?
It was a lot of crying, a lot of sadness.
Sadness, yeah.
But I also have felt that when I ask different things, I cannot get what I want, or a lot of many of these beliefs I have been asking myself lately, and a lot of anger. Each time, there's a lot of anger coming up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is something I have suppressed a lot because I've been afraid of anger, angry people, and also my own anger, my own power.
Yeah.
And also yesterday, it was very clear for me that I felt that I've been living in almost in a dark energy that I was downloaded or programmed as a child. I always have to live in this. And suddenly yesterday it was, no, it's not true. I can live in a different way. And it was like, wow, clarity. But I think this beliefs is in the way, and also maybe the anger, the power. I've always been afraid of my own power.
So if you are someone who is powerful, you could misuse that power. But actually, you are the power. You are infinite power. You're not a someone. And in fact, even you're using that power right now to limit your own experience, aren't you? You're using all of your infinite resources right now already. You're already using them. So nothing's going to change when you start using that consciously. Just to recognize, I've seen examples in the world of people misusing power, but as my realization deepens, what real, authentic spiritual power is very different to what we see going on in the world. And as I come to realize I am everyone and everything, is it even possible to misuse it and want to hurt someone accidentally or on purpose? And it's just simply that is just seeing that I can't actually ever hurt someone because they are my own self. Just as I value my own self, I must feel the same about everyone and everything. So I'm saying this because I had a huge fear of the same as you, fear of the power, because I thought it was something from the ego's perspective, it's something that's going to come to me after I wake up. Or if I go deeper, I'm suddenly going to get very powerful. But actually, you're already extraordinarily powerful. You're sustaining this entire universe as we have this conversation. Nothing is going to change. It's just that you'll start to get more of what you do want and less of what you don't want. Nothing's going to actually change upon this realization in that way. You feel your body just goes, oh, because we've not really trusted ourselves. We've not really liked ourselves. That's what it's all about underneath this anger, isn't it? I want this, but I don't feel I can have it because it's not safe to fully let go into the self, the infinite self, something like that.
Yeah.
If I wake up and realize the truth, I'll be some kind of power hungry monster that uses that power unwisely over everyone, and it just nothing could be further from the truth.
Yeah, because I did an Osho meditation some years ago, and it was a lot of anger coming up, and I felt it was too much because I felt, I could destroy the whole building, and then it pushed down again. It was so overwhelming.
But
And after that, I've been really scared of this.
You've never experienced anger when you weren't afraid of it. We experienced the fear of the anger, not the anger itself. And we've experienced that many times. I've said or done something that I can't take back. I've hurt someone with my words or something like that. But when you actually just feel the anger without believing anything about it at all, and it's very, very common this. We even had an anger party at the retreat we were at in Virginia. We actually went down to the lake and just let go, a lot of us, just yelling, screaming, shouting, and it was amazing. Because everyone's afraid of their own anger, everyone. And it's perceived as a very dangerous emotion. But actually, it's just an energy. When I don't project anything onto it, then I can just feel it. It's just an energy. And the angriest I've ever been, actually, no one would know from the outside because I wasn't even shouting or yelling because I was just feeling it then. Didn't even need to shout or yell in the end, because I was able to just let myself feel it. Yeah. And there's a lot of it sometimes, because we've had many lifetimes of not getting what we want over and over and over. Yeah, over and over. So just, see what your ideas are about anger, and see if you can just meet it fresh, authentically.
Yeah.
Most of all, don't be scared of yourself.
good.
You're beautiful. You're beautiful. And you deserve to get what you want. You deserve it. Yeah. Wonderful.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Nice to talk to you. Okay, we'll go to Elaine.
Right. Set myself up. Fear. I really feel like I've called it in, or it's here. It's like it's a thing. It's real. It's a thing. You were talking about describing, not being able to describe consciousness because it's not a thing.
Fear is definitely a thing.
This fear is definitely real. It's a fear. I mean, it's a thing, a fear thing. See, I can't even speak. It's just fear. And it feels like I picked it up and I've become attached to it and I have an understanding with it. And I'm comfortable with not being safe. There's a comfort in that. And therefore I can't let go into something I can't control. And I thought I had an understanding with fear. I thought it was my friend. I thought it was my buddy. I called it in and said, yeah, of course you can come. There's no problem. We're all, you're all part of it. We're all here. No problem. And
actually we might have a greater problem when it wants to leave than when it wants to come, because we find that part of us inside, when fear began to disappear and diminish, because it had been such a best friend from my very first memory in this body, at least. I could remember feeling scared to some degree, sometimes from mild tension to other times outright terror, and everything in between. And when it started to leave, finally, as my awakening really deepened, I was left with this, but I don't really know who I am without it. It's been such a huge part of me for so long. As much as I want it to go, I'm kind of holding on to it with the other hand, and as terrible as it feels, it's also very familiar. Very familiar. So I'd suggest just embracing this, looking at this gently without any criticism of yourself. Why don't I want it to go? What's that about? And I don't mean minds, I don't mean your mind's like, why can't I let this go? I mean, the self, the love. Why can't I let this go? Like, what is that?
I kind of feel it's showing me that that all that I have accumulated and know from this life is not where I can function from. I feel that that's what it shows me, and it is, since asking in a more intense way, where am I, what am I, that I can't even, I don't even want to breathe. I don't want to wake up in the morning. I don't want, going out in the car, it's like, oh my God, do I really know how to use this? Do I know how to turn the ignition on? And
is it showing you then that your current way of functioning, maybe fear's final message for you is, this isn't working, believing I'm waking up in the morning, believing I'm driving the car, believing I'm choosing to breathe or not,
Uh-huh.
believing I'm the one that opens my eyes in the morning, the separate being, at least the self, the infinite self, is doing it all. So not even taking responsibility for having to let go or open up. Don't even give yourself that. Just perhaps gently acknowledging for the next day or two, this old way really isn't working so well. What's next? What's deeper? Without trying to make anything happen, just, is there an easier way to function than this?
That just seems like a challenge, and I want to take control of it. It's just
Go ahead and try. Go ahead and try. Take control of it, and then fail, and then end up back here anyway.
Yeah. Well,
I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you.
You're not, and I do feel like I'm being dragged, and I'm resisting the whole way.
Or you could see that
yes.
you're not the one resisting or letting go or holding on or attached. You don't have any attitude about fear at all. You are the infinite silence. You don't have to be in relationship with every phenomenon that arises. You can just let them arise.
Okay.
Mine says, how do I do that? It doesn't matter, because something is falling away anyway. That's what the fear is telling you, right?
Yes.
It really is not working for me anymore to imagine that I'm in charge of all this awakening as a separate being. That's what's happening here. So whether you try to take control of this, some part of you tries to make this into a doing after we finish talking, it's fine. And we could even say, of course, something, or what do I do now? How do I use this? What did she say? And what do I do with it? That's going to happen. But at the same time, there's also something that's just kind of, yeah. You don't have to get rid of the egoic response. You can't. You just notice what's happening. Also, there's part of you that isn't doing, that's kind of getting more and more bored with living that way.
Yeah.
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 Even to say the self is bored is a bit too much. It's already free. And just watching this dream going on. The dreamer is free already. The dream is still happening.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I
can't give you anything to do
to
get out of a dream that doesn't really exist.
No.
I can only tell you it's not actually happening the way you think.
Well, I think I know that I'm not in control because I'm doing stuff that I was not going to do.
If you really know that,
yeah,
give up worrying about what's happening. If you're not in control, you're not in control. Okay. There's something that is intelligent enough to organize and create and sustain this entire universe. Let that guide you instead. Let the ego do what it does. It will run around trying to do stuff. That's what it does, and it's very good at it. Just let it go. Let it do its thing.
Okay. Yep.
Not a satisfying answer at all, but nonetheless the truth.
Oh, I've been waiting to have an unsatisfactory answer.
Well, there you go. Hopefully.
Now I've got it. Thank you.
Let me be completely unsatisfactory and say there's nothing you can do about this.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I really heard that, it deepened into, there's nothing I need to do about this. The seeker will stop seeking and fall away. I will still remain as I am and have always been. The only thing in question is how much I suffer along the way here. Yeah.
Yeah. I seem to be dragging my heels. I know that I can't.
What if you just stop taking ownership of that which is dragging its heels?
Okay, I'll just fly then.
If you're not even flying either, completely still and motionless, already free, you, the self. Don't pick up that which is resisting or advancing. Don't pick it up.
Yeah. Mm.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
We'll go to Rune and then Caro, and we'll leave it there for today. Whenever you're ready, Rune.
Hi, Helen.
Hi.
Oh man, I never say thank you. I guess you had to go away for 6 weeks for me to really, really miss you. And then I would remember to say thank you. I really appreciate these.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And so while you were gone, I seem to have unfolded so many things. And then there's sort of such this clear understanding of how to sort of play between the experience and the stillness. But I find that as I learned to find peace in the experience, I was getting a little trapped in it. And as I would sit to like really seek stillness, I encounter this sense of boredom that just makes my teeth itch. And it's this weird anxiety that like if I sit still, like I'm going to get bored and nothing's going to happen, and I want something wonderful to happen. And every time I actually do it, something wonderful happens. But until I do, I just live in this bored fear that it won't.
Yeah. So you alternate between deep stillness and peace and agitation and boredom and restlessness, right? Something like that.
Well, it's sort of like there's the stillness, and then from the stillness, I'll enter into a state of like real delight and play with the creation.
Yeah.
But then I'll get sort of caught up in it and stuck, and then I struggle to find my way back to the stillness.
What do you mean by caught up in the creation? You mean like caught up in the outer world, the experience?
Yeah, like it starts out and it's fun and it's play, and then all of a sudden there's like a little too much. I feel myself kind of being drawn into that separate self story as I get too close, and I recognize the need to like recreate the space and to like go into silence. When I do,
What if
I'm like,
it's more like instead of getting stuck in the creation, can you look at it more as breathing in and breathing out? So right now we could say we're breathing in, we're in satsang, we're really looking at the inner experience and, you know, all of that. And then later we'll go out into the world and do what we need to do today, like breathing out, and we'll have whatever experience we have. And then there'll be this inner movement again where we want to come back inside and chill and meditate. And then we'll go back out and in and out and in and out. What if that's just going on its own and you're just watching it?
then I guess as I'm watching it, I'm observing a funny stuckness when we are done breathing out and not ready to breathe in yet. But
and is that really a problem? Does it have to be something going wrong? Can you just go, oh, there's a little something here that wants to kind of carry on there, but without making it your problem?
Yeah, it's not really a problem any more than a catch in my regular breath. It's just information.
Yeah. So maybe you, the self-consciousness, whatever you want to call it, learns through satsang like this. And maybe it learns also through experience equally, perhaps even more so. So maybe our satsang is even deepening when we're going out and playing in the outside world. Some of it may not feel like playing, it may feel like, you know, not so fun experience, but could that also be your satsang right there? Perhaps even more so than this, like this.
Good. It's just uncomfortable sometimes.
Yeah, and some of the best satsang I've ever had has been with some people who were, you know, well, we don't need to go there, but it's been a normal everyday experience in the world that was just extraordinarily uncomfortable. But that was where the biggest growth was. So if you just view your whole life as a satsang, really, it gets a lot easier.
Yeah.
And this inner and outer thing will just eventually it stops doing this. It's just they're both the same thing. really. Sometimes we're talking to beings who are more conscious of who they are. Sometimes we're talking to beings who aren't conscious at all of who they really are. But you can learn equally either way.
Yes. Thank you. That was a satisfying answer, not very on brand.
Well, I'll try to do better next time. So it's not something really uncomfortable, yeah. Pressure's on now.
I'll do my best.
Thank you. Good to talk to you.
Pleasure, okay. As always.
We'll go to Carol, last but not least.
Hello, Helen.
Hi.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have one question about Aishani has shared. Okay. I think most of us have some feeling that we can get what we want until we realize that we are in everywhere and everything.
Yeah.
But I know, for example, the step here and then here, but we need to pass from here to here and to get everything. But
what if you're already here? What if you're already here? You said we need to go from here to here. What if that's not true?
Will be great if I can feel.
So right now with me, have a look and see who you are. Try and find out who you are right now. What do you find when you look for yourself?
Nothing.
Nothing at all, or just no object called you?
That object.
What do you find then? If Caro isn't a person, what is Caro then?
I can't see anything. No noise, nothing.
So silence, absence of noise, silence. There's silence. Yeah. How does that feel in your body?
I feel two things. One is nothing is happening. And the other one, I feel like a revolution. I can see both.
So that silence, that nothingness that you find when you look for you, that is what you are already. It was right there when we looked for it, right now. Look again and see, just make sure it's still there, still who you are. And everyone can do this too. Does that silence, Caro, does it have to cross over from one to the other? Does it have to get rid of beliefs? Does it have anything to do? Don't start thinking. Go to your direct experience now. Experience that silence. Tell me what work it has to do spiritually.
It's like it's okay. But you know what happened? The other feeling, this one is very, very soft, and the other feeling are stronger.
So go back to the silence and tell me, is it affected by feelings? Look again. Is it affected by anything that's going on in your body right now? No. So if there's a heavy sadness in the body or a deep bliss, the silence is no different. Right?
Right.
If the mind is believing all kinds of thoughts, I can't get what I want, or the mind is completely silent, is this silence any different? Have a look again at the silence with me now. Is it affected by anything that's going on in the mind at all? Is it changed at all by anything that happens? One more, just one more. If the universe blew up tomorrow, what's happened to the silence?
Nothing.
Nothing at all, yeah. So everything else than what you've just seen, everything else that you might tell yourself other than this is illusion. The story that you have to get somewhere, even the story that you have to stabilize is this silence, see it deeper, see it clearer. None of that is true for the silence, is it? Especially the story that you have to get rid of all of your beliefs before you can rest in this silence. You just rested in it about 6 times at least. And we didn't change anything about your mind or your body. In fact, your mind and body change when you rest in the silence, right? How does your body feel now?
Is I don't know. I see the silence, but I don't know why I feel a lot anxious from the challenge.
Do you feel alone and anxious when you rest as a silence?
Mm.
So stop trying to fix that problem. Doesn't apply to you, does it?
Then the problem is that I try to fix that.
Or if I were in your position, and I have been, the only thing I would do right now is put as much attention on the silence as possible. Experience it again and again and again. Come back to it over and over and over. Every moment that you can, every spare second. So that it is so obvious that it is who you are and that you're already free as that it begins to override this tendency to imagine otherwise. It already is overriding. We're just speeding it up. Yeah. I would ignore every other spiritual problem that mind gives to you. Everyone. Check it out against the silence. Is this a problem for the silence? No. Okay. Move along. It becomes like that in the end. Every problem that you try to fix just reinforces that you're a someone. Right? And you never got to the end of fixing those problems. The more you fix, the more there is. So just get rid of the to-do list and rest as the silence. and see if things don't get fixed by themselves magically. It's not really working to try to fix them as a someone anyway, is it? So I know I have this unsatisfactory answer for the mind, but this is totally satisfactory for you, the silence. You're making it all up. Nothing has ever happened to you. You are the infinite silence still, and you have never not been. And it's time to stop imagining otherwise now. Yeah. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Well done, well done. Good to talk to you. Okay. So we will leave it there for today. Thank you everyone for the questions you've sent in and for the brave sharings here. Totally good to be back with you all. Although I was right where you are the whole time this body was wherever it was. So thank you. Namaste.